The Socom team's quest to ensure that every new version of the franchise is bigger and better created an exciting and dynamic development process.
We tried to put a whole bunch of new content into the game. We really tried to add a bunch of new features. And the main challenge associated with that was just the amount of time it took to implement those features and make sure that they integrated themselves well with the game. And with additions like vehicles, swimming, customizable weapons, a whole new user interface, bigger levels, I mean the list goes on, and there's just a whole bunch of key new things that really make the game much more enjoyable as opposed to the predecessors.
For the PSP, some of the challenges we faced, infrastructure, going online with your PSP. We were trying to support more people than had ever been on the PSP online at one time. So we've got 16 players online, and we've also got ad hoc, which means you can play with somebody at the bus stop or at your dorm.
In the beginning, we kind of built areas of the world that were in one central kind of island location. We've got the technology now in Socom 3 to span multiple islands, and that's a streaming technology that Zipper had come up with that kind of allowed us to create totally different looks within the same mission. So you could go from places like a complete desert environment to coming into a village and then going back into the desert and then back into something like a Moroccan market, all in the same mission. So that's kind of a new challenge for us to do.
In a crowded genre, there's no doubt Socom stands head and shoulders above the rest.
The thing that really sets Socom 3 apart from the competition is that it appeals to a wide, broad audience. I've seen other tactical games out there that maybe aren't very realistic, and therefore it's a more casual game. And then maybe other games where they're so realistic, it's like you're going to go hide in a bush for 4 hours and maybe you get to fight one bad guy or something. So I think Socom does a great job of offering choices to the player and letting them play the game how they want to. If they want to be tactical and hardcore, we let them do that. If they want to be a little more run and gun, they'll have a tougher time beating the game, but they can do that as well. So I think that's one of the really great things that sets the game apart. Another thing is, I think we have a great equal emphasis on both single player and multiplayer. Particularly in this latest game, we've tried to add a bunch of new single player features. So I think it's almost like you're getting two complete games. I know I've played in other games out there where the game really shines in one area or the other, and I think Socom 3, we really tried to bring the single player up to the multiplayer level of gameplay.
As well as sharing strengths, the two titles also feature exciting contrasts.
There are some big differences, and one of the things that's actually a major change is how the camera is with the character. Traditionally, Socom games on the PS2 have had the camera right over the character. And what we decided to do was, because the PSP has this very wide, luscious cinematic screen, is that we would put the camera over the shoulder of the character and have the character off to the side. And that allowed us to bring the camera into the character and actually see him a little bit more on screen, while also allowing a clear field of view. Really, the large-scale systems that are different is, one of them is the target lock. And that affects the game across the board. And we were really nervous about target lock. I mean, as we designed the game, in the back of our minds, we were constantly thinking, is this going to make the game too easy? What we decided to do was make a target lock that would allow the player to indirectly aim at what he was looking at by his stance, by his movement, by the kind of weapon he had, so that the player had lots of options to be able to refine his aim even though he was locked onto a target. And I think what that meant is finally we had a system that allowed us to use that single analog stick, but really it wasn't a cheap system and it didn't make the game too arcadey. There's still a lot of tactics and play left in the system. And that's something that we had to do for PSP, but it worked out really well for us.